What is going on, YouTube? I am Germ here. So as you guys can see up on the screen, today we have this tweet from Treats that came this past weekend after Fnatic got knocked out of the LEC playoffs. It was obviously a big moment. Some people were still really optimistic for Fnatic to maybe go on a lower bracket run, even though they probably hadn't proved anything to us that like they were capable of that throughout the whole season. So obviously once it went down, you know, people were maybe a little bit surprised. Some people were not surprised at all, but then a lot of people were talking about what does Fnatic need to do? What do they need to change going into Summer Split to figure things out? Whether it's their style, whether it's their coaching, whether it's maybe even their actual roster. People are going to start asking these questions. It is now officially the mid-season, off-season for Fnatic, and I'm sure they're looking at a lot of different things and a lot of different options, but in the end, you know, it's pretty funny because Fnatic made, you know, the changes in the mid lane and changes in the bot lane, and then now the team, you know, looks just a lot worse overall, and they look like they're in a really weird spot. So there's going to be a ton of speculation, a ton of rumors, and also just a ton of memes surrounding this whole situation. So it's definitely something we're going to be talking about throughout this whole week, kind of running through multiple different positions, scenarios for Fnatic, and what might exactly be some of the options on the table for them. Because again, with how things went, how they looked pretty poor throughout the whole regular season, and then maybe at times looked a little bit better, and then they still flame out pretty early in the playoffs, I think it would be weird to expect Fnatic to just run back the exact same roster, the exact same lineup, because this is a team that is trying to make it to Worlds, wants to make it to Worlds, wants to win LEC titles, wants to compete with the best of the best, and right now they are very far from it, and I don't think this roster of 5 players is just going to miraculously turn it around in the Summer Split. But before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you guys have not already, please take a second and smash that like button. I would appreciate it so much. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content so you guys don't miss out on anything we got going on in the future. Tons of awesome videos coming your guys' way. Again, LEC finals coming up, LCS finals coming up, MSI's on the horizon. Ton of stuff to talk about, ton of awesome stories, LCS, LEC off seasons as well coming up. It's going to be fun. With that being said, let's get right into this. We have this clip of Selfmade talking about, this was actually before the series this weekend with Schalke, talking about what maybe some of his future plans might be, you know, if Fnatic continues to struggle, if Fnatic continues to lose. So let's hear from this, because a lot of people were tweeting this out, you know, right after Fnatic lost to Schalke, so it's a little bit funny.
Am I confident about Schalke on Friday? Yeah, I am. I mean, if I lose best of 5 to Gilius, I'm going to NA next year, just saying. Dzięki ryba za 9 miesięcy.
So, obviously, a lot of people, you know, whether they're LEC fans or whoever, kind of heard that, and they started memeing it. LCS fans are getting hyped. North American teams are like, oh, where could Selfmade possibly be going? You know, it's just really funny. It's really memeable. But then also it kind of brings up the question of, yeah, would Fnatic move on from Selfmade? Should Selfmade maybe be benched? Should he split time? Should Selfmade consider other options? His contract does run out at the end of 2021, so this summer split is his last split on contract with Fnatic. And I know there has been rumors and talks at times of Fnatic and Selfmade talking about an extension, working on an extension, maybe being close to an extension. But before the season, you know, things were looking pretty good for Fnatic. They thought they made some positive changes. Yes, they thought Niski was going to be a significant upgrade over Nemesis in the mid lane. And, you know, yes, it did suck losing Reckless, and people thought that might be pretty impactful and that might really hurt them and that might suck for them. But Upset was really good, and people were still hyped up and excited about that, and it wasn't seen as too big of a downgrade, maybe a downgrade in terms of leadership or just like credentials and everything. But as far as skill, you know, Upset was supposed to come in and be pretty good, and he was very good this year. He was probably the second best AD carry in the LEC. He was an MVP candidate on a team that was not very good. So overall, I mean, Upset worked out really well. Niski, I think there's a lot more room to be argued and stuff. But yeah, so things have changed a lot for Fnatic from the preseason, when maybe they were talking about an extension where Selfmade was considered maybe the second best jungler in the LEC, if not the best. There was absolutely people who thought Selfmade in the right meta, you know, at the right times, was the best jungler in the LEC, and maybe, you know, we've seen him develop a lot year over year. If he continued to develop that way, maybe he could significantly and solidly pass Jankos as a number 1 jungler in the LEC this season. That's what some people were expecting. And in that world where they're negotiating, yeah, Fnatic has a ton of incentive to try and lock up Selfmade for the future, but also Selfmade has incentive to, get paid and try and get a big long contract and try and get a lot of money, try and capitalize on his worth and just how good people think of him right now. But again, things have changed. Fnatic all of a sudden doesn't look like a top 2 or 3 team. They don't even look like a team that's going to make it to Worlds in the LEC. Mad Lions is tough. Rogue is tough. G2 is always going to be there. And then Fnatic even just lost to Schalke. So now they're maybe the 5th best team in the LEC. That's going to be a tough mountain to climb headed into the summer split. So Selfmade now has some incentive to look to some other teams. Maybe he wants to go somewhere else. Maybe he wants to be on a better team. Maybe he wants to try and go to Worlds. Maybe he wants to go to North America and get paid more money. Like if I'm going to be on the 5th place team in the LEC, I might as well be on the 5th place team in the LCS making 2-3 times the money, So there are at least some conversations make more sense. Before, to me, when Selfmade was considered maybe the best jungler in the LEC, the only place I really saw him leaving Fnatic to go was maybe G2, maybe Team Liquid, if he's looking to move up in the world. But now, after this split, where he was maybe the 3rd, 4th best jungler in the LEC, and he's not in the conversation at all for the best jungler in the LEC anymore. Coming off this split, Jankos had a good split. Inspired was really, really good. And then Elyoya is right there, and he's kind of looking like the new jungler of the future as well in the LEC. So yeah, Selfmade is maybe now, moved himself down to the 4th or 5th best position. He still has a ton of talent. And yes, this is just one bad split, and he can obviously bounce back. And then he was on kind of a bad team, and maybe the meta didn't fit him perfectly. Blah 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 blah. But his value kind of went down a little bit. Fnatic lost some value to potential free agents, which I think is going to make it really, really tough for them to make potential roster moves and everything. But also, Selfmade lost some value on his contract. With just a split left in his contract, he's playing for his future, his spot on good teams, a significant amount of money. Fnatic is not one of these teams that traditionally is shelling out a bunch of money. So I'm sure in a way, if they want Selfmade for the future, they're going to get him at a deal now. They're going to get him at a discount. They're not paying for potentially the best jungler in the LEC anymore if they're working on a contract extension right now. So obviously Selfmade has probably lost himself some money this past split. He has made it more difficult to probably sign a contract extension, which could make the negotiations harder, because I'm sure Selfmade still thinks he's probably one of the best junglers in the LEC. He wants to get paid like it, but Fnatic's like, look, man, this is the split you just are coming off of. What are we supposed to do? So all of a sudden, it becomes very, very interesting. And I don't know what the future holds for Selfmade. Obviously, I think in the Twitch clip, he was just memeing, but could North America be a realistic possibility for him next year? Yeah, I think so. I don't know where exactly he would go. Again, I think Team Liquid is always going to be an option, especially with Santorin's contract running out, especially if, they don't end up winning any LCS titles this year. I think Santorin could absolutely be on the move, and Selfmade could be an option. There could be some middle of the pack LCS offers for him if there's some new team that tries to make a super team or something. I don't think Cloud9's going away from Blabber. I don't think TSM's going away from Spica. So, you're kind of looking at maybe a middle of the pack LCS team. But again, if you package Selfmade with another European player, all of a sudden you have a pretty solid team in the LCS, and that could definitely be something that happens, and you'd be making a lot more money potentially than you would be in the LEC. So that's always going to be enticing. That's always going to be an incentive maybe for some of those players. And then as far as Fnatic, if you did decide to move on from Selfmade, if you did have to move on from Selfmade going forward, I think it's going to be tough, because again, a lot of those top guys, like Jankos is not leaving G2. I mean, it seems like he's either retiring or going to stick with G2, and G2 is going to stick with him. He's still coming off a really, really good year. Inspired. Is he going to leave Rogue to go to Fnatic when Rogue is maybe going to be the 2nd or 3rd best team in the LEC? They're going to be going to Worlds when Fnatic's not. I mean, it's possible, but I think it seems a little bit unlikely. Elyoya is on Mad Lions, who they're now locked into the LEC finals. I mean, I'm sure he's not dying to get away and go to Fnatic. So, I mean, it's tough, because, yes, Fnatic does have this history and pedigree, and they're this super, super prestigious org in the LEC, and obviously there's a lot of people who would love to go and play for them. It's like, leaving to play for TSM in the LCS for a lot of people, or maybe how it used to be for TSM in the LCS. I think it's going to be tough in the short term. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. You look at the Fnatic Rising roster, you see that they have Maxi as their Fnatic Rising jungler. This is their European Regional League team. So if they wanted to try out a new jungler for the summer split, I'm not saying that he should be benched. Honestly, I think they just got to ride out Selfmade. I think he still has a ton of potential. I think he's obviously very, very talented. I don't think he had a good split at all, but I do not think he was the problem for Fnatic. If I was to rate the problems, I think Fnatic, or I think Whippo and Hillsang were obviously pretty big issues. I think Niski deserves a lot of kind of the criticism as well. Like you see the top comment on this thread is Fnatic in desperate need of a new top in support. But then you scroll down a little bit and it's top mid supporter all on the hot seat, and people get into an argument about Niski being the third best mid in EU. I absolutely disagree with that. You have Caps, you have Larson, you have Humanoid right there just off the top of my head. Niski was a guy who had low kill participation, low damage. Like he was supposed to play a supportive style, but he really just played like a nothing style. Yes, he didn't have as kind of visibly bad moments in games as like Whippo and Hillsang, who were, very clearly just straight running it down at sometimes. But I also don't think Niski, if Nemesis was able to be replaced for the split that he had, I think Niski is absolutely on the hot seat as well. And then I would say Selfmade is a tier below them. I think those three guys are all pretty comparable. Maybe Whippo and Hillsang a little bit above Niski, but Niski's close to them, and I say a pretty big gap before Selfmade. And then obviously Upset is chilling. He's fine. He's good to go. So I don't expect them to do anything crazy in the jungle. I don't expect them to bench Selfmade. I don't expect them to try out any other junglers in the summer split. But again, looking at this Fnatic team, looking at how consistently inconsistent they looked throughout the spring split, and how their highs were never that high and their lows were pretty low, and they kind of looked like the 5th or 6th best team in the LEC all year, and then they finished 5th in the playoffs. I think some changes need to be made. I think it would be for an organization of Fnatic's kind of pedigree and stature, a team that wants to compete for LEC titles, and a team that with 3 of these same 5 members were 1 game away from being a top 4 team at Worlds last year. Falling this far this fast is really, really unacceptable. And yes, you can try and change the playstyle. Maybe you could change the coaching staff. Maybe you could change the drafts, whatever. But for whatever reason, these 5 players don't seem to be meshing well together. And maybe it's because some people are just having a bad split, or some people are just not fitting in well with this environment of this team. Who exactly knows? But this is not what Fnatic expected for this roster, and when you miss expectations, sometimes changes have to be made. And yes, it kind of has seemed like in the past Whippo and Hillsang have been a package deal, but again, that's a decision they're going to have to make. That's a decision Fnatic's going to have to make. But we will definitely later on in the week run through the rest of the positions as well. Today, I just kind of wanted to talk about the jungle for Fnatic for the Selfmade situation, because there was that Twitch clip that a lot of people were talking about, a lot of people were tweeting about and everything. And I did think it was really, really funny. Again, do I think it means that Selfmade is going to North America? No, absolutely not. But is North America off the table? I don't think so, but I don't really know where Selfmade could potentially end up. I don't know what Fnatic options exactly are going to be in the jungle. It doesn't seem clear to me like there's an absolute, surefire option out there. I mean, maybe they're going to have to go with the European Regional League jungler, because I know obviously there's a lot of really, really talented players in all of the minor leagues over in Europe, but obviously those are always risky. Sometimes those work out, sometimes those don't. So we'll have to just wait and see. It's going to be really, really interesting, but I know Fnatic fans, LEC fans, everyone is just kind of waiting. We had this tweet from Treats. We also had Wooloo talking about, maybe Fnatic's going to be making some things, so I'm definitely going to be looking out for rumors, looking out for, any of these leaks and stuff we get, and I'm going to be bringing that news to you guys as soon as it happens. But I would be pretty shocked if Fnatic runs back this same roster in the summer split. I don't know what exactly that means, if they're going to try a 6-man roster, if they're going to try and give somebody some time, if they're going to move on from somebody entirely. I don't know, but to me, something's not working out, and this is not good enough for Fnatic. It shouldn't be good enough for Fnatic fans, and yeah, we're going to have to see what happens next. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Thank you so much for checking it out. Drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about the Fnatic jungle situation? Do you think Selfmade should leave? Do you think Fnatic should bench him? Do you think, where do you think Selfmade could go? Who do you think Fnatic could get as a jungler? Or do you think they should just ride it out together? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!